Then there's my brother, who's not the quietest person you ever meet. Louis. Proserpine.
He doesn't mean it, Des.
I didn't even hesitate. He said, you made me look stupid.
Hello, I'm David Duffin. Today's special guest is the charmingly effervescent and passionately pragmatic scenic artist, Robert Bull. Rob, nice to meet you.
Yeah, good to see you again, Dave.
That's great, mate. So, how's everything, mate?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty normal, hectic, you know how it is.
That's right. And well, look, we're on the Gold Coast now. I understand Rob's working on a show at the moment.
Yes.
And you've got a pretty good team.
Yes, it's not my team, but it is my team.
That's right. That's right.
My sister's the head scenic on that, and they've come up via you and I and a few others. I don't know if I got her started, but she's certainly got a long way.
She's in it. Well, I was going to talk about family later. I just want to go back. So, what's your age, if you don't mind me asking? Because you've been doing this for like 35 years or something, right?
Yeah, thereabouts. I turned 64 last month.
Wow.
So it might be time to do something else for another 35, maybe. Who knows?
That's positive thinking. That's great. So where I want to know, where were you born?
I was born in Mount Isa.
Okay, right.
In the bush. Wasn't so much bush at that time, though.
Okay.
It was a little city in the middle of nowhere.
And I think you've got a number of sisters and brothers, right?
I had 4 sisters, 3 now, a brother, some of which have worked in the industry on and off.
Sure, that's right.
Well, the movie industry and the theming industry.
Yeah, I know. We'll get into that later, but there's lots of them, and nephews.
Yes, nephews.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to Carlin there. So, where do you currently live, and is the area inspirational for your career as a scenic artist? I just want to point out that Robert's done this game for like 35 years, and he's probably been a musician for twice that. So, but we'll keep this on the scenic art level for now. So, where do you live now, and is it inspirational?
I live at Tambourine Mountain, and I don't know if it's so much inspirational. It's just comforting to go there. It's home. It's where I go, and there are a lot of things there that would be inspirational to a true artist like yourself, but not so much for a journeyman scenic,
I see.
But yeah, there's a lot of inspiration because a lot of the things that we do have to replicate things like the rainforest where I live, the rocks of the area, the trees, a lot of that stuff, and quite a few of the old buildings around. So,
and I think the area lends itself to many storylines because of those locations, right?
It does, and it's why it's so good to shoot film there. Because it's close to the studios, and the Gold Coast in general, you can have everything from rainforest to the sea to some parts of the year, dry vacant farmland and all those things. Eucalypt forests, all of those.
So first up, I'd just like to get your, could you explain what is the fundamental role of a scenic artist?
With me, it's a people manager. I don't need to have as many artistic skills as quite a few of the people that work for me.
Gotcha.
You've got to get them together, find the ones that will work together. The ones that aren't very good at this time, you can nurture them until they're good. And when they leave us, hopefully they're better than when we got them.
Right.
Young people that are like sponges that can learn a lot of stuff. And people that don't understand the work. But you've got to convene and articulate and organise all of those people with their skills for all of those jobs.
Plus, you'd have to, I guess, coordinate with a production designer.
Well, he is our main boss, although there are people above him. We deal with the designer mainly, and on bigger shows with their under designers / art director, who are given sets to complete under their rules, more or less.
Yeah, okay.
So they do design, these people get it to us backwards and forwards, to the designer. We deal with art directors, the designer, special effects people.
Do you love it? Do you love going to work every day? I mean, do you want to go to work every day?
I used to, but I'm slowing down a bit, you know, and that's a terrible thing to say when guys like Ray aren't slowing down a bit.
That's right. That's a shout to Ray Pedler, actually. Yeah. Right. Well, that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, because I have so many other things that I'm interested in and that I do, but there's still enough of a spark to excite me to go there. I don't want the full-on responsibility all the time, or maybe not at all, of dealing with maybe up to 10 other departments.
I got
Especially on big films, and they all have their deadlines, and they all have things that they want you to do.
I see.
You've got to schedule and organise all of that, and generally it comes in at the same time. That's why they're all pushing for the same thing, but from different angles, all the time.
And I guess if you've been around for a long time, you understand a lot of the people still in the same industry, and you have a good relationship with them.
Yes. All the, I guess I shouldn't call it old school, but it kind of is. And the young ones coming through, there's some very, very good ones.
Really?
In the departments, different departments, including ours. There's some very good ones. But the way film is made now, it's tended to water them down a bit,
I see.
if you know what I mean. Nobody seems to have the same work ethic that everybody used to, but that's really hard to get when you're working a minimum of 10 hours every day, and then quite often another day on the weekend, quite often overtime when there's somebody's made a mistake and there are big changes happening. But we like that. We like the rush of that, the big push.
Yeah,
where everybody's just crazily getting it all ready.
That's good.
Like today, for instance.
that's right. No, that's great. Okay, people should understand that they need to know. That's really great. So can you just give me a bit of history? I think you've done, apart from like music, but say in the film, you've done films and theme parks and sporting events in Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
So how do you find all, I mean, is there anything else I'm missing?
Not really. There's commercials.
Oh yeah.
There's television. There's film. There's feature film. There's series.
Gotcha.
And then there was a thing called a mini series that came along for a while.
That's right. And reality.
And now reality is a big thing.
Yeah.
I've never worked on any. Well, yes, I have actually. I have worked
What did you work on?
Somebody's. Where they go in and they change the entire scheme of the house in the backyard.
Right.
And
that's a challenge too. I mean, like,
absolutely.
because your time is so condensed, isn't it?
It is.
Whereas the big features, probably you get a bit more time, you know.
You get a lot more time and a lot less film.
Yeah, right.
Whereas we like that, well, when I say we, I like the push that you get on a series where you have not as much time. You've got to get a lot more film in the can. So everything is a rush.
Right.
But the good part is if you really didn't like that set, it's in the rubbish bin in 3 weeks. So, you know.
That's right. If it's built out in the rain,
Yes.
right?
Yes, 5 attempts to paint the same set.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's really good to know. So, did you do art at school?
I did for 1 term,
Right.
but I was a musician even back then, so it wasn't that important to me to go to school.
Right.
So I would probably average 3 days a week in my last year at school, which was grade 10. And
Right.
it was a great disappointment to my art teacher, and she said to me one day,
Do you remember her name?
Mrs. Goparenko.
That's
She was
nice.
a Russian refugee,
Wow.
a very good artist.
Isn't that great?
Oh, great thing.
Well, she might have inspired you a bit.
Oh, she did. I saw some of her work, and she seemed like she was a little bit stern all the time. And she said to me one day, "Could you just do one thing for me?" And what's that? She said, she said, "What's that?" She said, "No, I mean, could you just do one thing?"
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
With a broad accent, and she said, I would like you to hand something in at the end of the week. This is the assignment. The whole class has got the same assignment."
Gotcha. Right.
And it was a landscape in watercolour. And so the night before, I thought, I promised
Oh,
I'd
no.
do something.
And you're probably playing on the weekend someday.
I don't know what day it was even, but I got this sheet of paper, got watercolours out. I didn't have many. I mixed up, and there was these oranges and purples and yellows. It was a desert scene with 2 Aboriginals standing on a sandhill with spears.
Nice.
And I must have taken a good 6-7 minutes to do that.
Yeah, but were you, when it was done, like, were you proud, or were you like,
Oh, I was happy.
Just got to put it in.
Look what I did.
Yeah,
And
right.
I gave it to her, and I think she nearly cried.
That's nice, man. That's
She put it on the wall. She marked it 14 out of 15. And
and the one for what? -1 for what?
that was one of the only marks
That's
I'd ever
fantastic.
been given. But
Isn't that great?
it was fantastic. So I do have an artistic spark. As you know, I would do paintings with you at least once a year.
We have fun.
Yeah, I always have fun. I've still got
That's
a
nice.
pastel that you helped me with, and I've got a few charcoal sketches. I like charcoal,
I
but
love chocolate. Yeah.
I only wished she had have lived to see me doing being a scenic artist,
Yeah.
and what I was responsible for, and the people who were ultra talented that I worked with.
Yeah, sure. Oh, that's nice.
So many of them. You know?
I'm sure she'll see that. So, okay, so you did the art at school, which is probably never enough. But
Very brief.
so, was that? What about, like? Did you ever paint your scooter or your bicycle or anything
Constantly.
like that? Did you?
Constantly experimenting.
Wow.
This technique where you'd spray painted white, and then you'd get a candle, and you'd brush the candle underneath the white paint, and it'd leave a smoke mark, which would be indelibly stamped into the white gloss.
Oh, that's
the
a
spray
new
tin.
one, mate. We'll
So
have to use that one.
Tiger stripe, but with candle
it?
smoke.
I haven't seen that. You have to show me that.
All manner of things.
Wow. And where was that?
That was in Mount Isa
Okay.
as I was growing up, you know, amongst horses and music and football and, you know, all the things kids
I
do.
heard you're a good footballer too.
Pretty good. You think you're pretty good.
Yeah.
And then you know that some of the guys on your team are just the best you'll ever see. And you kind of keep up to them, you know. And played rep football for Mount Isa.
Good. Oh, that's nice.
Little country city, you know.
Wonderful.
Go to the big city and get thrashed.
That's right. That's really nice. Good to know. So, how did you get into the scenic art industry?
I had a friend who was a sign writer, you know, Robbie Rowe. He came.
Ah, Robbie.
Yes. He said, "We need a brush hand," and I thought you might be a good brush hand since we've worked together and you paint stuff and you're a full-on painter and everything. So I put your name forward. Are you interested? How much are they paying? I said, oh, more than $600 a week. I thought, wow, that's a lot of money.
Mm. What year was that?
Oh, it would have been 88 or 9 or something.
88, 89. Right.
I think I'd done a little bit on a few things before that, but nothing major. And that's when I met Ray and you.
I see.
And Des.
Mm.
And a few of the others.
The show was
The Delinquents.
The Delinquents with Kylie Minogue.
Yep.
And Christian Charlie Slater.
Yeah.
Charlie
Slater.
Slater? Okay.
Met Peter Colliers on that too.
Did you? Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's nice. That's nice. So around 88, right? That's like
89
something,
maybe.
35 years ago, is it?
It was actually before Movie World opened.
That's right, yeah, because that was 1990, I remember. And so I just want to ask you, how do you describe your scene? How did you describe your scenic art position to others? Because I've said this to other guys, they don't understand. No one understands what a scenic artist is until you kind of put the effort in to tell them, right?
I just saw it as a job, really, because I was a musician, really.
Right.
And I'd do everything I was told. And the boss would ask me, have you done this before? And I'd say, oh, a little bit, a long time ago. And he thought that meant I hadn't done it, but it actually meant exactly what I said. So just the normal things.
Yeah. This is what I love about Robbie. He underplays everything. The talent he has, the work, how hard he works. It's really nice. Okay. So do other people understand and appreciate it when you tell them? Or?
Well, I don't explain it very well, and I do try and downplay that. And people will ask me, oh, what are you up to? Oh, not much. Where have you been? Oh, I've been in Azerbaijan or somewhere. Really? Azerbaijan? Yeah, it was just a job, And what do you do? Well, we paint things. Yeah. And, there wasn't anything in that stadium that didn't have our...
So what was that for?
That was for the inaugural European Games. Okay. It's part of Azerbaijan trying to be a member of Europe or something, I don't know. But it was another job. We did a lot of work in Malaysia and shipped it over there. So when someone says, oh, what have you been doing? Well, when I'm not playing in bands, I'm doing this, and I've been there to do that, and I did a movie in China, and you can see that they're stunned or impressed, and I think it's a job.
How do I do this?
It's a job. And when I think about it, I guess if somebody told me that, I'd probably be a bit impressed.
Yeah.
But because you're in it and you're doing it, it's just what we do. We do that.
No, that's good. So,
I mean, you do it. You're all over the world. You do these things, and
very blessed.
Yeah, it's like you really look forward to it most of the time, or it doesn't happen at the best times always. So it's a thing. But my wife describes it better than I do.
How's that?
Well, when he says they paint things, it's not like they paint a house. It's like they paint sets.
That's it.
Or they paint murals, or they paint backdrops, or they paint tiny little props, or really, really big props. And I thought, that's a pretty good description.
That's it. Yeah. Well, that's nice. So, what film and TV shows have you worked on that you've enjoyed working on? I mean, like, you might enjoy them all,
I enjoy little films. The big films I've decided were too stressful. I don't like to have a lot of stress. So I've worked on a lot of very small Australian films.
Right.
And some bigger films. But mainly for other people on bigger films. I have done, I think the last biggest one I did was the China side of Pacific Rim.
Gotcha.
And I thought, it'll be good to go away. And because most of it's being done in Australia, it won't be too much of a push in China. So I get there, I've got a 75-man paint crew.
Wow.
A couple, well, no, not even a couple of them spoke English, but we had interpreters. And
So it's as big as the Australian job, Scenic was.
well, it was bigger
Probably
than the
bigger.
Australian job because they canned a lot of the Sydney stuff
I see.
because the corridors and things weren't what they wanted to shoot, so they rebuilt the whole thing over there. So my little overseas
How
job.
long was that project for?
I think that ran for about 5 months. I think I was
That's
there
a long
for
time.
at least 3.5 of it, maybe 4.
Okay, so you prefer. Okay, so you're saying I was going to ask big budgets or small budgets, but I think you enjoy the smaller budgets. Is
I
that
do,
something like that?
because it's a smaller crew. It's much more intimate. Everybody knows what everybody's doing at any given time,
Yeah.
and there's no wastage. There's no.
It's kind of like the pressure's off because you know it's going to be a shit fight.
Yeah.
Sometimes
You already
right?
know that.
So you really go in there and save the day.
Yeah.
Because-
Every day you're a hero. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
the pressure's off, but it's not. We know that there's serious work to be done.
Yeah, and when you've got a good designer that can see what he wants before he even tells you about it. In his own head, he sees it, then he makes it happen on paper, and then he gets the samples, and then he gives it to you, and you have a bit of a conference and say, oh, look, I don't know about that, and he'll go, you're right, we'll change that.
So how much time we got? How much money?
All of those things. And when you've got big films and not very good designers, your job becomes almost impossible.
Right.
But favourite films? Worked on a fairy tale in China that was possibly the worst movie ever made.
Was it?
It was released in China.
Straight to video.
No, they put it in cinemas.
Wow.
They removed it from the cinemas and recut it. Put it back in the cinemas, pulled it out and just disappeared. And that was $150 million US in China. There was a lot of money in China.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
I like that so much.
Okay, so jumping back, talking about the films. Okay, so who were some of the designers that you've worked with and enjoyed on some of these shows? Do you remember any of them?
Oh, some of them. There was a guy called Paul Peters on The Phantom. He was a very nice man. So was his main art director, Lizette Thomas.
Right.
She really cared about what we were doing. But he was one of those guys that really knew what he wanted.
Okay.
And that's refreshing. Some latter-day designers, they don't know what they want, so they get you to do something. And then they know what they don't want.
Exactly, yes. Yeah,
And that's a tough one. That is really, really tough.
And I'm thinking that as your role as a scenic artist is to, once you've got your bag of tricks, then the quicker you become, the more options you are able to give a designer.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that is my bag. Is from working in television, and Eugene Intis was one of the great
That's
designers. What we would do is
and he was so polite. And
very
quiet,
polite.
wasn't he?
Absolutely, real gentleman. He would come in, we'd discuss the brief, we'd look at shortcuts because we never had a lot of time, and he'd go with anything that would work pretty much. And he used to design some of the biggest sets on the smallest amount of money.
Well, that's it. Because once you get a rapport with a designer, the best thing they can do is give you freedom.
Yep.
To get it somewhere.
We had that.
You know?
But what I'd started to do, and my brother does this too, you give them something that they can shoot in short order. If everything goes wrong, there it is, you can shoot it. Any time you've got left after that is just defining it and making it much, much better. Whereas the old school way is to build it up and make it into what it is. But television taught me you don't have the luxury of that amount of time. So you smash it, You know, it's like you get the base coats on, you start mucking around, you're getting the broader picture, and then you tighten it all up with any time that you've got left.
That's right. That's great. Okay, we spoke about working with designers. How important is it for a scenic artist to understand what type of lighting is going to be in the set? Because we never get it. You never get the information that you would like to get. What's your take on that?
Well, we used to quite often have that on, say, Lost World, for instance, where you just turned episodes over so quickly. And the lighting gaffer would be in there with the DOP, and they'd be having a conference. And because of the amount of time, they weren't having the set to themselves to have a conference. You would be there, and you'd be semi-involved because you were there. Okay. We didn't go to production meetings, but they came to our sets to start figuring out lighting. And so we could say to the DOP, how are you going to shoot this? And we would have a script with a POV or a camera angle sometimes, and you'd talk to the gaffer and say, how are you going to light this?
Right.
And then it'd get to the point where we could say, who's lighting this? And they'd give you a name, and you'd say, pack up. They're going to use 3 candles and a scrim. And
gotcha.
So
gotcha.
They're not going to see anything.
Yeah, that's what you want to know, for sure.
And
if you can get that much out of it, that's good.
And often you talk to the DOP and say, with this shoot off, what do you need to see here? Do this and this and this, and if you don't get time, I'll just flare it out with the lighting.
Right.
And when you've got that kind of access to the DOP, you really, really can save some time.
Okay, that's great. So I just want to touch on the scenic art in some of the theme parks you've done. Do you find it the same, or is there a public safety awareness thing you have? What's some of the?
Well, there's a lot of public safety, and it's a whole different process because it's got to go on there and stay on there. It's got to be not harmful to anybody. So if you're doing something and it's got sharp edges, then you let someone know they fix that. The paint you use has to be so long term,
right,
and resistant to children and weather, just wear and tear. And that is the major difference, just the different types of paint you use.
So is that where you learned and picked up on the industrial kind of paints, or were you spraying cars early in the day?
Well, I did some work for Chuck Humphreys back in the day, and a few other car people and special effects people that use all of the really poisonous things that you have to use in spray booths. And
stay away from isocyanides.
Yeah, absolutely. Or have the equipment to deal with it. And we tend not to go down that track if we don't have to.
Yeah.
But, car guys will have car paint. And even some of those have moved to, it's only going to be in a shot for 3 weeks. Just do it with anything, make it look good. And that's good, I like that.
Do you find that you get the time to do your own cars and stuff, or not?
Absolutely not.
No.
I've got 3 projects in the shed.
Soon, mate, soon.
One of these days.
That's great, Rob. Thanks. Good information. Let's talk about scenic art finishing, like decorative finishes. Do you have any favourites, like wood graining or marble or metal?
I'm not sure. I like rust.
Oh yeah, rust.
I think I pioneered a few things back in the day, but everyone does their rust a different way.
That's it.
And again, I'll paint something bright orange and scare everybody, and then bring it back down to what it should be.
Right. Yeah.
And people say, "Why do you do that?" Well, the first thing that happens when something rusts is it goes orange. And everything after that is a deeper tone of whatever happened. And so you can sort of tell how old something is by the state of the rust on it. So when I do things in bright orange and panic people, it's because I'm saving time.
Well, I mean, and then it's a good contrast because you need that depth. I mean, we know you're going to push it back, but you've got to start with something.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, I mentioned this before, using black and white. I like to use black to see how far I can push things. You know, like and the white and everything in between gauges what I can get away with. But some people, they don't use black or white, but as far as dynamics, using orange for rust, fine. You know, you must have an understanding of what's going to work. You know?
I've always done that with rust, but I introduced new colours fairly quickly to that. You know,
right,
with the red rusts and the yellow rusts.
And do you enjoy wood graining?
I do, but a lot of wood graining now, it's not the art anymore. You know, maybe next feature I do, where you know you base it up and you shellac it and then you grain it and then you shellac it, then you overgrain it and you shellac it some more.
That's right. I mean that's the thing. It's knowing when to stop. It is a good sign of.
And when you get over having to make everything shiny, you know you're probably getting good at it.
What about signwriting? You have an interest in signwriting too. I remember you.
I did work a little with a few signwriters when I was very young, just cleaning up mainly. But,
the smell of enamel.
Yeah. Enamel and terps.
That's right.
And got a few pointers, but I was never great at it. So if there's an emergency, it's me.
Okay.
There's all manner of jobs that fall to me in emergencies, and you've got to know enough about it to bullock your way through. So.
And when it comes to wallpapering, Rob's the go-to guy. He's the one. Everyone just stands back and watches Rob. He's doing it. That's good.
Only because no one wants to do it, Dave. They can all do it.
But there are so many kind of wallpaper gauges, right?
Absolutely. Well, different styles and thicknesses. I can tell you now, don't ever trust the glue-on wallpaper.
Right.
Pre-pasted paper, don't trust it.
I see.
Handmade wallpaper, it's going to stretch.
Gotcha.
When you paste that up, you've got to do certain things because you have to let it relax again. Velvet wallpaper, you've got to wear white gloves. You know.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Geez, I'd be terrible with that.
I didn't say I was good at it. I just wear the gloves.
That's good. I know you're a perfectionist with your tools, and you have 1,000 hélices and 500 spray guns. But seriously, I mean, I admire you because you do look after gear. And I know many other artists, they don't care. Sometimes they think, I'm that good, I can destroy this. But there's a mentality there which you need to have to look after your gear, right?
Yep. That comes from not having any. You know, I didn't work in movies early on, and well, you taught me a lesson in that actually.
When I wasn't good, mate.
When I turned up on my first job, I had my own brushes that I used to earn a living with. They lasted a day in the movie paint shed.
Oh, it's terrible.
And it didn't occur to anybody that the new brush hand might have brushes, so they couldn't possibly be his. And when I found them all dried up and in buckets of dead paint all around the set over the ensuing week, I thought, okay. But they were all of my brushes. All 4 of them were my brushes. Okay, so I became very particular about where they went and what happened to them. And some of my guns are really expensive. You know,
right.
But I get it with artists. That's not their headspace.
I see.
You know, and even back then, you were a great artist, and you know, guys like Peter Colliers, they don't clean stuff. They create. They don't. Nothing else matters for them. That's them in the moment doing what they do.
Right.
And that's why you have brush hands and things like that. That, you know, once I figured out where I was at that time, it was really easy. You know,
just hide all my tools.
Well, don't even bring any tools. And the company brings the tools for the artists to play with. Right. And I didn't figure out that until a lot later that we're all artists of some description. You know, you have fine artists, backdrop artists, and with me, it's a lot of it's technique. But if you don't have a spark of art, it's just going to look painted every time. So,
okay. So, as far as like production goes and when the film is, do you like? Let's just quickly talk health and safety. Do you find that the industry is up on health and safety and they look after artists these days?
They're doing their best to do it now.
Yeah.
But if you go back when we started, and we used to do everything in house, all the sculpting, moulding, models, everything. All of those things took different substances, most of which were probably harmful at that time.
Gotcha.
They've changed the recipes for most things. Even the custom wood that was so dangerous and probably still is, I don't know. The sculpting stuff, that's all dangerous, so you've got to take care if you're working with it or near it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of been removed from our sphere of works now.
Right. And I mean, everything's locked away and all the
You've got to have
stuff.
They try and look after you, and you think it gets a bit tedious, but it's necessary.
Those toolbox talks are worth it.
Yes.
Seriously.
Well, yeah, but because people are so good now, they're not transgressing all the time and don't have to be reminded that, don't store your thinners next to the welding shed.
Yeah, exactly.
Little things like that don't happen anymore. So now it's the niggly little things that they have to bring up.
That's good to know. So just getting back to the styles of art, do you have any favourite styles of art these days?
I like realism. I do like that, but all the impressionist stuff.
Oh, nice.
I really like some of those with that are just you can
less is more, but it works.
Yeah. I really do like that.
That's nice. Do you have any at home? Or?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
I've got a friend of ours who was not a well-known artist who painted a few things like that. But I do have some impressionists on the walls in my house.
Oh, that's good. That's nice, mate. Okay, so getting back to the industry, do you think the scenic art in a game is good, is healthy for body and mind?
Mostly it is. If you've got a good crew of people like we do that enjoy each other's company and can have a joke and make it worth coming to work. Whereas some jobs are so tedious that that I don't think that's good for you. A lot of things get put into a lot of people's minds now about health and safety, about mental things. A lot of people, I'll probably be pilloried for this, but a lot of people with their mental health take precautions just in case there's something wrong with me.
I see.
And you see it a lot and you think, there's nothing wrong with you, But if you keep looking, you're going to make something.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. It's a valid point.
But, you could think that most people that do paint are slightly unhinged. Why would you want to do it?
This is a thing. Years ago, there was this kind of stigma about being an artist where you've got to be wasted, and you've got to be trippy, and you've got to this to get some work done. Maybe for some, but I've seen a lot of it in the scenic. It's not necessary.
No, it's not.
I just think, man, what are these people doing to themselves when? Hey, everyone's different, but I think actually I see a good sign in the youth coming up, like we were discussing earlier.
Yeah.
These guys are all healthy and clean, and they want to learn.
Yep.
Yep,
and they aren't affected by anything much at all because they're young and fresh. A lot of the artists that I see, that I have known over the last 30 plus years, they have developed habits.
Yeah.
And the problem with working in the film industry, the long hours, they make excuses to have their habits.
I see, yeah.
And because they work in films, they can afford them.
Right.
If they couldn't afford those habits, they probably wouldn't have them.
Yeah.
And it's ruined a few people. You know, it's sad but true. Some of the nicest people have come a little bit unstuck, and you know.
Well, if they work with people like you, mate, they're on the right track.
Well, most of that comes from never being able to afford it. You know, when you're a musician, you see everybody taking these things. But I was never inclined that way, really. But you can see how it happens.
Yeah. Well, you know, each to their own, but you know, But that's great. Thanks, Rob. Has the industry affected your home life? Like, what are the pros and cons of being a scenic artist in the game?
As opposed to being a musician, I own my own house.
Right. That's a good benefit.
I think when I started making $600+ a week, I thought I could maybe buy a car eventually.
Well, okay, so was there a consistency to the film game? Like,
there
coming
was with
through?
me. I had enough work outside not to worry about working inside, as we call the movie industry.
Okay.
We call the other work we do outside work.
I see.
So
that's a pro. What's a
well, the hours and
the hours
just trying to.
exhausting.
Well, a lot of your work is not at home. We've been really lucky at the moment. We're working close to home, whereas you're not. You're half a world away from where you live, and sometimes I'm half a world away from where I live.
Yes, that's right.
And you know, we're talking about budget movies and things. I've been married for so long, and our relationship has gone for so long. It doesn't matter where I go, whether it's local or whether it's a million miles away. And
I see.
so doing that last movie in the Northern Territory, it was. If you ever get a chance to do a movie in the Northern Territory, do it.
Okay. Well, I mean, why?
It's another world. Even Darwin's like being on another planet. But when you're 3.5 hours out of Darwin, in the middle of some vast cattle property, you could see that this was a paradise. If you were an Aboriginal living there, you've got a river. You've got lots of crocs. You've got lots of fish. Anything that lives in that river. You've got fresh running water all year round. The different things that grow close by.
So nature.
Yeah, it's a Garden of Eden if you know what you're looking for. But that was a kind of an aside compared to this is a cattle property. Numbers are down at the moment. We're only running 21,000 head of cattle, and
Wow.
you know, and the breeding season's all year round because of the weather, and there's bushfires at the moment, but normally there isn't, and because we get the monsoon, we get the grass, and
It's the travel
yeah,
experience, isn't it?
yeah,
I mean,
and just being
discovering your country.
yeah, and it's like being in another country, being in the Northern Territory.
Yeah, right.
And the attitudes of people there are different to anybody else you'll ever meet.
Is it? I find that amazing.
And we went to the Darwin show.
What's the?
And there were people that look like us there. They're all brown.
Is that right? Okay, that's
Amazing.
So, what's it like working with a family in the same industry?
It's pretty good because they give me a level of respect that whether I deserve it or not, they give it to me. And
That's
they look
nice.
out for me, and we'll look out for each other and anybody in that circle. Everybody.
So who's
looks
in?
out.
Who are you working with?
I'm working with my younger sister, Katrina, Tina as we call it, and she's one of the hardest workers you'll ever see, and one of the quietest people you'll ever see. And
Except
my
when she's
brother,
dancing.
yeah, except when she's dancing. Then there's my brother, who's not the quietest person you'll ever meet. And
And that would be Louis, right?
that'd be Louis.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. And then you've got
My nephew Carlin,
Carlin,
who
yeah.
I think he could have been a contender as a scenic artist, but he's moved on to other things for for
Yeah,
the
and I
moment.
hear he's very successful.
Seems to be. He's much cleverer than I thought he was.
Oh, right.
No, I actually thought he was quite clever, but he can explain things to old people even. you
Oh,
know.
that's nice. And Karen, right?
My sister Karen, she was my very first paint helper.
That's right. Yeah,
Way back in the day,
I remember
and-
that. In her overalls.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's nice.
tradesman painter.
She was good too.
Yeah,
She was
very
good,
She still
very
paints
good.
stuff at home
Wow.
now, but she moved into accounts
That's
in the
right.
movie industry.
Right.
I think that's enough to drive anyone nuts.
That's nice.
But she's I don't think she misses it. You know, the hours, she doesn't miss those.
Yeah. Well, that's great, Rob.
So it's a whole family of us, isn't it, really?
Okay, so how do you find the industry today?
I find it more complicated than it used to be. Construction, not so much, but all the other parts.
I see.
We've got people, and I don't know if it's inexperience or it's just a whole new world that I don't understand, where art directors come and ask you for things that they want you to do on a set. And again, I don't think they really know what they're looking for.
Right.
So, yeah, they'll give you a reference, a couple of references, and they'll say, this is sort of what I want. And you say, not good enough, because now if I don't give you what you want, you can say, well, it wasn't that, it was sort of. Somewhere between this and that, again, there's wiggle room, you know.
So art directors, a long time ago, used to be a lot more confident.
They were.
Knew what they wanted. But there's some of them, obviously, they're not getting, I mean...
A lot of them
Look,
didn't
everybody's got
have
to start
qualifications.
somewhere. Yeah, right.
They came up through the industry. They might have been a painter, or they might have been a set decorator, or a set dresser or something. And they've made it to being an art director, possibly going on to be a designer. And they knew about every part of the industry.
Yeah.
So they could go to the paint shed and say, I want this. Because they've worked there, they know it's possible.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
And same with set dressing and everything. They know that they need this much time.
Gotcha.
And I don't know if it's because they did their homework more.
Right.
And they know what's expected to be in a 1940 house. And so they tick off all the things that they're going to need in that house, including the colours. You know, that between design and art direction, there's a bit of a...
Perhaps because the industry seems to be so strong at the moment, the talent pool is a bit diluted, maybe.
Could be. It could be that. They want more than they're entitled to, I think, sometimes.
I'm wondering, I don't know about now, but when I got into the game in the mid-80s, there were no college degrees to do scenic art on film and television. This is the thing, you had to learn everything yourself.
And it was like an apprenticeship.
Yep.
And we shared all the knowledge back then. I mean, you would tell me anything. Chris Goddard would tell me anything. Ray would tell me everything that he wanted me to do. All these people.
Open hand.
Yeah. Open hand. Push it around. So he, you know, all you guys, and then later on when I was in charge of my own movies, anybody that was there was welcome to my knowledge. You would step them through it to make sure they knew how it was, and they could make changes to your process if they wished.
Yeah.
But that's gone now.
Yeah, everyone's, I don't know, I mean, I really can't stand these people hiding their secrets. I just, yeah, to a certain level, but like you can show someone, I can show someone everything on how to do something.
And
it doesn't mean they can do it.
It doesn't mean they can do it, and it doesn't mean they'll do it like you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it really is subjective, you know.
Yeah, right.
But why people aren't sharing secrets, it's because there are a few people that want all the work.
Yeah.
So they're not going to hire anybody that threatens them.
Yeah.
They're not going to show anybody all of the stuff so that they can learn and then maybe take their job further on down the line. This is what happens to all of us, you know. You teach somebody everything, they go and work for another Scenic. He teaches them stuff. They learn all of these things.
Mm.
And by the end of it all, they're qualified to do their own film.
And this is like, I'll just bring Ray Pedler into this. He's 86.
Mm.
He's done everything.
Mm.
And you know what? He's still working in film and TV, and he's still loving it.
Absolutely loving it.
And he's shown everybody everything. But if you're not that type of person, no one wants. Who's going to want you to be there?
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. He comes to us now and says, "I'm painting this. We used to do it like this. How do you do it now?" So he's still learning stuff.
Yeah, that's.
He's learning stuff off the people he taught.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's incredible.
Wow.
It's just amazing, and he wants to do it old school, but sometimes he can't because of the substances that we used to use.
That's right. Yeah.
And so we show him other ways, and he thinks.
He gives us hope.
Yeah,
I mean, I've said this before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very good.
There's nobody like him, and never will be.
Mm.
He's just, he is who he is.
Yeah.
And I think we're all better for having known him in a lot of different ways.
That's a lovely thing to say. I'm not sure if you'll be able to think this. Can you describe one of the zaniest things or craziest things you've ever seen in the industry happen in the game?
I'm not sure. Maybe I was doing a movie. I don't really remember what it's called. And James Cameron arrived with a miniature submarine.
Is that right? Okay.
He put it in the movie world pool in the front lot there.
Right.
Was
Okay.
that Sanctum? Might have been Sanctum we were working on.
Yeah,
and he was checking out the sets from underwater.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't on it, but they were building a spider camera for Superman.
What's a spider camera?
I think there were all these guy ropes, and the camera would travel down all these different ropes, and
I see.
like flying or something. That's when they were building the miniatures up here for Superman. I've seen a lot of bizarre things, but I'd have to stop and think about it. I think it's it's horses stampeding and mad bulls and pens full of sheep and the things that happen.
Great. Right, some fun questions, some nice ones. So where is your favourite part of the world?
That is a tough one. I liked Japan, but I think, as they say, there's no place like home. And I've lived at Tambourine Mountain for such a long time. I think I like to go there more than anywhere else.
That's lovely. What's your favourite music?
I like it's such a wide area, but if I had to play something, I'd really like to play funk. Like not the old P-funk, but sort of the snap funk more than...
Who knows the difference except Robbie about P-funk and snap funk? But that's interesting.
It's just funk music.
What is the difference between P-funk and snap funk?
P-funk's sort of like you can play anything as long as you give me the one. Bang.
Okay.
Bang.
That's P-funk.
Yeah, it's...
What's snap funk?
Stuff like Tower of Power and I can't think.
But is that the 1, 2, 3, 4?
It's really intricate. It's like there'll be a lick like. Yeah.
I remember being in Wonderment when you were talking about anticipated symbols, and I thought, and you're going, listen to that. And I'm going, yeah, okay, I hear it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, man. It's good.
But most people don't hear it, but they actually feel it.
Right.
They don't know it's there, but there's something.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to know it's there.
I just want to ask, who's your favourite drummers? There must be a few.
Vinnie Colaiuta, it's probably my favourite. Gad was everybody's favourite, but I think Vinnie was an artist, absolute artist. Play anything for anybody.
Wow.
But going back a ways, Harvey Mason was probably my favourite.
Nice. I don't know him, but it's nice, man. Oh, I'm going to look for him. Favourite food?
Oh, just really basic food of any description.
Comfort food?
I like fish and chips. It's bad for me, so I have fish.
Mm.
And don't have it all the time. I do like a nice steak, not too often.
Okay. Favourite way to relax? Or pastime?
Just at home on the farm,
Right.
getting my hands in the dirt.
You used to ride horses a lot, right?
I used to.
No.
I used to, but even horses horses haven't changed, but restrictions regarding horses have changed.
Okay.
Due to a couple of different viruses.
Mm.
But I'd love to have horses again, but I'm thinking when?
Yeah,
when
right.
would that happen?
So you just relax on the, you got like farm, 5 acres or
I've got
something?
a little farm and just digging about in the rhubarb patch or whatever.
That's nice.
That calms me down nicely.
Nice, Rob. Okay, so if you could choose another role within the industry, what would it be?
I'm not sure because I didn't want the role I've got. I was happy to work with other people or for other people.
Okay.
But, we've all done a little bit of art directing in our time.
Mm.
And you probably as much or more as everybody. And I think that kind of gets you into design.
Yeah, right.
But I never really wanted to travel that far. I couldn't think of another role for myself in
That's
the
fine.
industry.
That's fine. That's good. If you could choose another job entirely, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know. I used to read books on genetics many years ago. I thought,
Okay, so let's forget the music because
Yeah.
that's the thing you've always done. But
Yeah.
so genetics.
I was very interested in genetics. I don't know why. It just came out of nowhere. I read a few books.
Animals, humans, everything.
Animals mainly.
Mm.
I wasn't too fussed about humans. I mean, people have.
Kind of perfected enough, isn't it?
Well, it does it on its own.
Yeah.
People make all the bad choices and end up with really good results.
Yeah, right. That's interesting. No.
Whereas genetics in plants and animals, but horses, but plants mainly. When you see what they do with plant DNA and stuff like that, I thought that interested me, but I needed a lot more education than I ever had to get there. And it's not like it was ever too late, but
Right.
I think I'm a bit
Do
lazy.
you think there's a difference between changing the DNA of plants? I mean, if there's a thing about changing the DNA of animals,
Yeah.
but I mean, flora. I mean, is there a problem with that as well?
Well, it's the world we live in. It's money driven, a lot of it. You make crops that are resistant to Roundup, for
Right.
instance, or to weed killer, I should say. And making different traits in animals because you need a dog that can run faster and longer to work with cattle. So just breeding is probably not the only way to do that.
Did you hear about that farmer who created the three-legged chicken?
Yeah, I did actually. Is that the one he couldn't catch?
So what did it taste like?
No idea, he couldn't catch it. Now, Chris
Sorry.
Goddard had a thing about that. He said, if you had a really good cow or something, why would you kill it? You just take off one leg at a time.
It's terrible. Oh, that's nice. Okay, so would you recommend becoming a scenic artist to others?
I would. I would recommend it. But it's a thing you've got to think through, It's not, I got a job as a scenic artist, it was the only job I could get. It's like, you've got to have, a lot of people just fall into it and become very good at it. But there's a lot of people that go to art college and expect to be one.
I see.
And there's a middle ground there, whereas when we came up through it was like an apprenticeship. You're a brush hand and you show promise, so you're a painter or you're a set painter, and you go from being a set painter to being a set finisher.
That's right.
Then you become a senior set finisher, and then you may become a scenic artist, possibly, or a scenic charge hand, or
I see.
all of those things, and they're all
That's
categories.
nice.
And then, I lent one of my brush hands to someone one day, and they said, "Oh, I've given him a pay rise. He's more than a brush hand." I said, "No, he's the brush hand." I'd be questioning how good your set finishes are, not how good my brush hand
That's
is.
a good point. Valid point.
And that's what they need. They need that bringing on through all of the things. And kids that are sharp, without qualifications, remember all these things. And you can learn all of the stuff about contrast and mixing colours.
Yes,
One of the young
yeah.
fellas there the other week, I was mixing a colour and he said, to make it darker, he's just going to add black. And I said, no, because that'll make it grey. I'm going to put a dash of blue instead, because it will not make it grey. It'll make it slightly darker, or
And
you can use
cooler.
it, and you can use a green for that as well. I said, and because that colour was sort of halfway between, I was using blue and green. And then I say to him, I was showing him a colour, and I said, "Can you see the yellow in that?" No.
Oh, right. Okay.
I said, it's a blue colour or a grey colour, but it's got an orange in it somewhere. You can.
Yeah.
And until
that's
you
right.
mix it and show them, they can't see that. But that's having, I don't know if it's having mixed that colour or you just know. And these kids that come out of art school, they're very good. They're really good. I'm nothing against them. But, kids that don't go to art school learn to carry 2 20-litre buckets first.
And so there's something in learning the hard way too. But
I don't recommend it.
No,
but it's
no,
really
that's right.
hard to get a job in this industry just with good qualifications.
I see. Yeah, that's very interesting. Thanks, Rob. So, do you think the role of scenic artist will be obsolete in the coming years?
Possibly, because maybe only the role of scenic artist, but if you've got somebody that's in charge of anybody that's painting stuff, he's either the scenic artist or the painter. And if there's no other painters, well, by definition, he's the scenic artist.
Right.
So there's always going to be somebody painting something. I was in America and I met a guy in a pub at Redondo Beach, and he said, "What do you do?" I'm Aussie. I said, "I'm a scenic artist." And he says, "Oh, that's so interesting. My dad was a scenic artist and his dad was a scenic artist." He said, "But I'm a matte artist. I work for Disney doing what they did, but with computers and CGI."
I see. Yeah.
And he said to me, "They're never going to replace you guys."
Isn't that nice? I mean, what year was that?
Oh, geez, that was only about 5 years ago.
What were you doing over in the States?
Going to see Elvis Presley's house.
Oh yeah. I didn't know you went there. That's
Yeah,
great.
I went there. A friend of mine took a bunch of us there. And we did a bit of a trip, and we played a bit of music, saw a bit of music, and
Oh, great.
did a few things.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so there's so you don't think the position will completely die, and which is great, because I mean, no matter when you talk about AI and the future, it's concerning, but I still think even if you're a designer, people still want to touch and feel. Actors still want to touch and
they
feel.
do.
Right?
And they are the ones that
Until they get rid of
dictate that.
actors, they're not going to get rid of scenic artists, hopefully.
Wasn't that what their strike was over?
Yeah.
There'll always be the independent filmmaker
Yeah, you're right.
then they're not going to be able to afford AI and CGI and all the rest of it.
Like an example, one of the latest winners of Australian Film Awards shot their film on Super 8. And they won because it was like, how refreshing, you know, interesting.
The guy that worked for me as a painter for a little bit went into other parts of the film industry. He made his own little films all the time.
Right.
But then he started to make serious films, and he made a movie, a war movie, a 5-minute length movie that was shot continuously.
Gotcha.
And it was rehearsed, and it was, you know, they had all of the things that normal movies had. He entered that in the Hollywood Film Festival and won an award for that.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And whilst there are people like that, all of these positions will never be obsolete. They just need to.
That's refreshing to hear, Rob. That's really great. Now, what would be your best advice for an upcoming scenic artist?
Listen.
Listen.
Because so many people know better than who they're listening to. They've already got a plan in their mind and they're going to do it a certain way. Then they find out why it gets done this way. Excuse me. People are offering advice. Just listen to what they're saying. And 9 times out of 10, they'll show you.
Yeah.
If you get that opportunity, grab it, because it doesn't get offered to everybody.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I hope you're listening to that. You young ones. That's great, Rob.
Work hard and be nice to your mother.
Okay, this is our one-word challenge or few-word challenge. In one word, describe these artists. Okay, one or a few words. Ray Pedler.
Amazing.
That's nice. Chris Goddard.
I think it'd take a few pages to describe the Goddard father.
That's nice.
Nurturing is a good word for Chris.
Oh, that's lovely. That's really nice. Mike Johnson.
It was just an incredible talent, really. It was a different person. I love Michael Johnson. He had a different approach to anybody I've ever met.
That's nice. That's nice. And in what way?
Just the way he went about things. For instance, I was working with him on Flipper for a short time, doing a corporate. What kind of grain do you want on these panels and things, Mike? Oh, there's no grain. Paint them brown and shiny. But it's television. It'll look like wood.
That's great.
And you know, it looked like wood.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's great, isn't it? He's straight to the point.
I quote that, and that's like I say, people will tell you stuff.
Ah, that's great.
And I've often quoted that, just make it brown and shiny.
Isn't that nice? Okay. Wayne Truce, Bluey.
Character.
That's nice. Shout out to you, Bluey. Hope you're well. Louis Ball.
Well, that's a bit more complicated. Not sure how to describe him. I've never had to. Frontman.
That's perfect. Yeah, very nice. Ian Richter.
He was a magician.
That's nice.
It was a lot of things, but he was magic.
That's nice, Rob. Tina Ball.
One of the hardest workers you'll ever see. She's, how would I describe it? Shy.
Yeah, shy. Ian Merchant.
You can't describe Merchant one word. skillful, talented, dry,
Mm.
funny.
That's nice. Okay, a couple more. Des Keener.
Mad.
He doesn't mean it, Des.
I didn't even hesitate. He can be a lot of things, Des.
Mm.
He, charming,
Mm.
you know, many things.
That's nice.
But I think when I say mad, I don't mean that in any sort of derogatory term, but
Energy. He's got energy, mate.
he had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
If only he'd use his powers for good.
That's right. Okay, Derek Winness.
Quiet.
Quiet. Oh, that's good.
But see, they're all skillful in their own ways, all of these people. Derek was a mountain of a man, and understated, maybe that's a better word.
Well, I think that wraps it up, Rob. It's been wonderful having you here, and thank you for your time.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Dave.
I hope to see more of Rob in the future. And I'm David Duffin, and please join us for our next episode where we'll have another special scenic artist. Thank you very much, Rob. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Dave.